Olo just quit his full-time job because his side hustle is now making $1.2 million in revenue. But the wild part is, he didn't start this company. He bought it using seller financing and grew it over 300%, all on the side while he kept his full-time job. When you first bought the business, what did the business do in sales?
It was close to $400,000. Right now, we are on pace to do about 1.24 million.
He invited us into his newly acquired business, a medical spa in Austin, Texas, to show us exactly how he found the right business to buy, how he 3x'd it to 1.2 million in revenue, and specific steps for others to do the same. However, he did face setbacks along the way.
Bought the business and the fire started. Day one, ice storm. Business is pretty much shut down. I think we had 3 patients that came into work that day. Day 3, finally our first day. I have a full day at AppSumo. So Jen goes to the office by herself. She calls me, she says, the esthetician quit.
But what he learned helped grow the business even more.
Yeah, so I found this accidental hack, right? If you find that are big, and it works.
In this interview, Olo shares his exact playbook for researching, buying, and growing a business, all done with seller financing while keeping a full-time job. We're at the med spa. It's called Wild and Beautiful. Can we talk a little bit about what entrepreneurship means to you and a little bit about your background?
So my name's Olo and I work at AppSumo as the head of partnerships. A year ago, I purchased Wild and Beautiful Med Spa. Whether you are working at a company or working for yourself, it's fucking hard. You're gonna be working long hours. The difference is, who are you working these hours for? For yourself or for somebody else? And it's okay to choose one or the other, but for me, it's having the freedom to be able to pick my heart.
Can you explain maybe in layman terms, like what is a med spa?
So that is where people like you and maybe your girlfriend come to get skincare. You come for 2 different reasons. Either A, you want to reverse skin damage, or B, preventative. So you don't want to age as fast. That's where you get things like Botox, right? And Sculptra and other different skincare treatments to help, slow down the aging process.
Do you think I need Botox?
Let me see, raise your eyebrows. Yeah.
Oh no.
Nah, it's all right, you look great.
How much did you buy the business for?
It was $362,000. For the size of the business that it was, it felt like the right price.
And can you talk about how you look to purchase a business rather than to build one your own?
Yeah, so I went back and forth between buying and starting. Oftentimes you think that it's easier to just start, but it could actually be more expensive, right? Because it just takes a long time between startup costs, build out, hiring, and months that you go without really turning a profit, versus buying a business that's already making profit, and on day 1, you're already generating income. So I think the route we wanted to take was buying. We looked at different businesses on Biz Buy Sell, and over time, my wife and I talked about, hey, why don't we just have our own med spa?
Can you talk about how you use seller financing and what you were looking for as you were setting up the deal?
So I really liked the idea of seller financing, and I always thought that seemed unreasonable, right? Most owners, they just want their cash. You gotta go through the bank. And going through a bank for a business loan is not easy, right? You have to show them not only your financials, but then the financials of the company. It's months, right? And that could really slow down the deal. So seller financing was very interesting to me, and I proposed it from the beginning. So the seller wanted a certain price, and I said, yes, we can do that price, but you agree to my terms, right? My terms are, I want to do seller financing for this amount, for this many years, and we'll do it at this interest rate. We both came to terms, we both thought it was fair, and that's what we pretty much put together.
When you talk about it being an asset sale, is that opposed to like a equity sale where you buy the whole business?
Yes. So when you buy the whole business as an equity sale, you're assuming you're taking over their LLC, you're taking over all their debts, any properties, versus an asset sale, you're just taking over kind of like for parts, like the customers, the website, the emails, just very simple.
You've learned perhaps maybe through this first purchase of things like what to put into the purchase agreement, how to structure the deal. Are there any things that stick out, advise others to look out for if they're making their first deals?
So when I purchased this med spa, it was an asset sale, so I didn't purchase any of the liabilities, right? If I have customers that come in and say, I have a gift card to Wild and Beautiful, I can't tell them, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't purchase the gift cards from the owner. They're gonna be upset, they're gonna write bad reviews. So in the purchase agreement, I put a clause that said, hey, if there are any liabilities that come after the purchase date and they get redeemed, then I would claw that back from the purchase price. So if $1,000 came in from gift cards, or prepaid services, I would deduct $1,000 from the $362 that I owed.
Okay, now we have the real boss, Jen. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and so curious, what was the first thing that happened after you bought the business?
Our first day in business was February 1st, 2023. And it was an ice storm here in Austin. The city was completely shut down. That was the start. I mean, Mother Nature, we can't mess with that. And then I have one employee just quit on me like at 10 in the morning. And so I call Olo in a panic. And so what'd you do?
I'm like, what happened? She says, I told her that she had to work Fridays, and she said that the past owner told her she didn't have to work Fridays anymore. She grabbed her little bag and left. So I told her, hey, relax. I've put out so many fires at AppSumo that this was, I'm like, oh, let me get my fire hose. And fired up an Indeed, and I had like 20, 25 resumes come through. I scheduled interviews that day, the next day. And the last interview I had, Kristen, she was amazing. First thing she asked was, when do I start? And I'm like, can you start tomorrow?
There's one other thing that you caught barely in the purchase agreement. Can you talk about how important that is to look at your email threads?
Yeah, so I was excited that the business came with $150,000 worth of equipment, right? But I didn't look to see if the equipment was under warranty, right? Or if it was registered under the manufacturer, or if it was even generating money. And I think if I were to do it all over again, it's so stupid. I would have just talked to 3 med spa owners. I would have paid them $200 each. Hey, can I borrow 1 hour of your time? I have some questions. And I probably would have learned that the equipment is everything. It's such an obvious thing, but if you're not in the business, you don't know.
Now that you've done this, you know the specific things that you have maybe advised someone else to do if they're doing research.
Anything that you jump into is actually quite easy to learn. So I think it's identifying what your skill set is that you can implement to a business that you might find fun, right? The skincare industry was fun. I mean, you're hanging out with beautiful people. So your people are excited to come see you. They look better. It's fun. So that's one thing that I would look for, is obviously something that you're going to enjoy. Number 2, you have either a co-founder or an operator to handle the business, right? And these are the people that are experts in what you're not, right? Which is the actual nitty-gritty of the product that you're selling. And your skill set is applied towards the deficiencies in that business. So maybe they don't have an online presence. Maybe they have no marketing. Maybe they don't know how to run their books. Whatever it is, you have to find what your skill set is that can benefit that business, along with the operator or your co-founder.
What would be your advice to somebody buying a company?
All right, the 3 biggest things when buying a business. Number 1, seller financing, no brainer. Number 2, talk to people, employees of the business you're gonna buy and owners of similar businesses, right? So you can get some learnings. And number 3, have a contingency plan, not necessarily a 90-day growth plan.
How did you look at growth after you bought the business?
When you first buy the business, the number 1 thing you want to do is figure out where the leads are coming from. You want to double down on what's working and you want to cut out what's not. So the lead jet channels that were working actually was Groupon. Groupon was working great. But I was looking at some of our best customers and they came from Groupon. So all I had to do was just clean up that funnel. So I got rid of offerings that were not generating repeat customers. And number 2, a new customer special. So you can only get a Groupon 1 time. After that, you have to go into our memberships. Memberships is where we really grew. We had about 56 members in February of 2023. Today, we're sitting at 420. This is, I learned it from AppSumo, was how do I make a membership a no-brainer? Where it just doesn't make sense to not join and it almost feels dumb to quit.
One of the things you talk about was just like fixing things that were annoying and the transparent pricing. Can you talk about that?
We looked at the business from the customer point of view, right? I wanted to have all our pricing for every single service. And that took me hours to do, but all our customers rave about it. They're on their phones at 9 p.m. and they can book online. They can see how much it costs. They can show up and they're not getting any surprises. And that right there accounts for about 75% of our bookings.
What are the top 3 ways that you get new customers?
Number 1, referrals. Number 2 has to be reviews. And number 3 is probably user-generated content and Instagram, just social media in general. So we give all our customers $50 in gift cards. So the moment that a customer comes in and they get their first service, boom, $50 gift card. And the customer that they bring in gets a new customer special. Win-win for everybody. I get a new customer, they get $50, they get a new deal.
You grew the Google reviews from 45 reviews to 236. So that's like 424% increase.
Yeah.
Like what did you do that they weren't doing before?
So getting Google reviews is probably one of the hardest things for businesses. And I recommend not to do the pay for reviews angle. That angle sucks. Why? You start reading all the reviews. Love this place, love this place, love this place. You're not getting any substance. They look like fake reviews. Instead, you really have to just wow the customer, become their friend, right? And then we would send them text messages and emails, personalized. Hey, I saw that you mentioned that you had a great experience with Jacqueline today. Do you mind leaving us a review? Here's the link. And we did that, and we still do that. And that's how in 1 year, we went from, I think it was 50 something to now 240 something.
You guys also have figured out a little bit of an influencer strategy or micro influencers. How do you get other people to talk about your company?
Yeah, so I found this accidental hack, right? If you find influencers that are big on TikTok, let's say they have 100,000, a million followers, right? They might have a small following on Instagram, maybe 10 or 15,000. And they're actually wanting to grow that channel as well. So they're more likely to respond to you on Instagram than they will on the desert that is TikTok. We went to TikTok, found big influencers, cross-checked them on Instagram. If they had a small following, we would message them through Instagram. And that's how we got a lot of these girls to come in, and we did an exchange of services, and they helped us out, and they've been an excellent lead source. Now they are promoters. They like talk about Wild and Beautiful from the top of their lungs, and it works. All right, so guess how much I paid for this mirror?
$500.
Damn, that's cheap.
Let me guess again. I don't know.
How much is a banana? $20? So I actually got it for $150, but this is a $3,000 mirror. So this the idea behind this whole clear wall is that we wanted to promote transparency. The person's always sitting over here, right? So when you're sitting here, you can't see your face, right? So they can be treating you, but they can see Jen injecting.
Well, in light of transparency, let's maybe talk some of your numbers and metrics. When you first bought the business, what did they do? What did the business do in sales that year?
It was close to $400,000. Right now, we are on pace to do about 1.24 million.
Wow. And so just looking at some of these growth rates, you grew the memberships from 7K MRR to 43K MRR. That's 514% growth.
Yep.
Google reviews, 45 reviews to now 236 reviews. That's 424% growth. And now gross revenue, 379K to 1.24, 227% growth. There's a million metrics in a business that you can look at. Are you looking at all of them or just a few of them, or what are the ones you look at?
We have one North Star, and that's memberships, right? Memberships correlate directly, I told you, with our revenue. So as our membership revenue grows, so does our gross revenue. Also, as we keep member churn down, that means we have happy customers. So the team knows that we have to first get customers to become members, give them a happy and great experience. But number two, make sure that our existing members are the happiest ever so they don't leave. So by just focusing on those two things, everything else just falls in place.
You obviously know a lot about software tools and have access to all the tools that have been on AppSumo. What is your current tech stack here, and how did you use technology?
So we use Asana, right, to manage all our tasks. We use Slack for all team communication. All the automations I created with the new EMR system that we had reduced the front desk's workload by like 75%. So now they were able to focus on calling customers, chatting with them, becoming their friend, making sure they're having a good experience, and leading to selling more memberships.
Jen, what is your favorite and least favorite thing about working with Ola?
He's gotten into a little habit recently where we go out to dinner and he's like, hey, that lady, go give her your business card. And I'm like, I'm not just gonna go up to a random person. He's like, well, if I do it, it's creepy, but if you do it, it's okay. So networking.
You always have to network. You always have to network.
What is your favorite and least favorite part about working with Jen?
My favorite part has been able to see her evolution from just being like a nurse, right, with very limited skill set in the business world, and then having seen her just figure it out, right? She got thrown into the deep end, and now she's an entrepreneur. So it's something that she learned very fast. The least favorite part is the finances is not all there. Like, she bought like this really nice chair for her office, and it was like $5,000, and I'm like, $5,000? She goes, yeah, I just write it off. She thinks anything that we purchase can just be written off.
It can.
Who's writing it off?
Okay, so you have this sweet new business. You're doing 100K MRR, $1 million business. Are you gonna quit AppSumo?
So I actually told Noah that I would never work anywhere else but AppSumo. But if I ever did leave, when we were on track to do 7 figures in annual revenue, that it would be time to focus on my own thing. So you do the math.
Nice. So I think that that's coming soon. What would you sort of advise to somebody who maybe doesn't have that set up to start going to events, surround themselves with people who are doing it? or just start talking to business owners?
I think you need to have a figure in mind of like, this is when I'm gonna focus, right? And I think the mistake people make is they say, okay, I'm making $100,000 a year at this company. When I'm making $100,000 a year from this product, I'm gonna focus full time, and that's not it. It's when I'm making $60,000 and I'm at this trajectory, I'm gonna jump, and yes, I'm gonna be at this lower level, but I know that in 6 months, I'm gonna be back up here. But it's gonna be very hard to match until you make that jump.
So this is your first swing at buying a company. Would you do this again?
Yes. Funny thing, Jen actually last night messaged me. She goes, hey, look, did you see this Facebook post? Somebody's selling a spa here in Austin. And I'm like, ooh, let's. I was already like, gears were kind of like spinning because I'm like, okay, I already did this once. I know how to do this correctly. I was, yeah, let's inquire. Let's find out. Let's see what the revenue they're doing. Let's see what their customers look like, right? But we're shoppers, we're not buyers. And with that mentality, you don't take a plunge unless the numbers make sense. And you can set the numbers as high as you want and as strict as you want, right?
Right.
But we've done it before, so we could definitely do it again.